Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
Not going far from the digitalization and IT sector, our reporter Georgy Aronia talked to the IT Ukraine Association. It is the largest national association of IT companies, which represents the interests of more than 82,000 IT professionals and over 120 companies. The association's mission is to provide favorable conditions for the sustainable development of information technology in Ukraine through four main areas of its work: government relations, international relations, education, and CSR. Since the beginning of the war, it contributes to the ongoing development of the industry and provides centralized support to the army and people. How is the Ukrainian IT sector adapting to working during war, and how does it assist the army? These were some of the questions that our reporter Georgy Aronia discussed with Konstantyn Vasiuk, the executive director of the IT Ukraine Association.
Konstantyn, hello. Thank you for being with us in these difficult times and answering PMG's questions.
Hi, thank you for inviting and having me here.
Konstantyn, let's talk about the context that we found ourselves, and you and your association found yourselves in the recent times. What has happened since the beginning of the war in Ukraine in the Ukrainian IT sector?
So first, let me make a brief overview of our industry before the war, because it was about 25 years when Ukrainian IT sector has made a quantum leap forward. And now about 300,000 professionals are working in IT, in tech industry in Ukraine. And we were growing by 25–30% annually. And I think our industry tops the list of IT service exporters in Europe. And according to the result of the previous 2021 year, the industry generated $6.8 billion of the income and of the export income, and more than 4% of national GDP. It's quite impressive. So we keep on growing, and even during wartime now we are still growing. It's unbelievable, but we have shown resilience and flexibility to this situation, and I think it's good indicator that everything can be okay, and even in these hard circumstances and conditions.
Konstantyn, how is the growth possible in technical terms, given the whole context? How are companies adjusting, and is there any support from the government in these difficult times for the IT sector?
You know, our growth connected directly to the global demand on the global tech market. So as we see, this demand is still growing. We are growing as well because we have managed to keep almost 100% of the existing contracts, and mainly it happened due to business continuity plans implemented by Ukrainian companies. I would like to say not even Ukrainian companies, but the companies with development centers in Ukraine. A lot of our members of IT Ukraine associations, they're global companies. They became global for these recent years. And now they have distributed offices, including offices in Ukraine. Some of, let's say, smaller companies, they have mostly people here in Ukraine, but larger players, they have distributed offices mainly. So, and of course, I should say that business clients of Ukrainian tech, represented by the private and public sectors, and as for the countries, the main growth drivers for our industry remain the United States of America. It's about 40% of our export services there, and the United Kingdom, it's about 10%.
Konstantyn, as we know, the IT Ukraine Association has provided centralized support to the government, to the army, and the people of Ukraine during these difficult times. What exactly have you done to assist the army?
Of course, I should say that about even more than 5% of IT people, men mainly, they serve in the army, on the front line. About 10% people working on the cyber security projects and different related projects. So, of course, about many of them we will speak after the war, of course, after our victory. Now it's quite sensitive issues, but cyber security expertise, we have good, very high expertise in this area. And mostly people working on the economical front, because they are still working on their projects, delivering services to our customers, and again, increasing the hard currency income to the Ukrainian economy. And in the parallel, of course, it's a lot of donations, a lot of help on some purchasing of some military, non-military, humanitarian equipment. It's huge amount of money was donated by IT companies, IT specialists, and some IT communities. We preliminary, it's almost impossible now to calculate the exact figure, but it's also by no means more than $500,000 million, I think, by no means. So this is a great economic, positive, great economic support to the economy, to the country, to the state, and to the families, to the people finally, because a lot of people now, so unfortunately in Ukraine, they lost their jobs due to this war. So IT people, IT industry generally is working on the almost the same level as before the war. So this is a very incredible thing, and the joint efforts of the government and business and community, these efforts lead us to the victory and lead us to the more sustainable economy, even in the terms of war, because a lot of help and some financial support, of course, we gain from partners, but IT industry now, let's call internal partner, reliable partner for the economy, for the state.
Konstantyn, during the war, the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine has been active on all fronts in basically every country, and in many countries, that was the first time that people even heard of this ministry, but ever since, it's been one of the focal points of the global media attention. Do you collaborate with the ministry and other governmental agencies? And if yes, what is the process like in war times, and how is it different from the processes before the war?
Yes, of course, we're in close collaboration with the government, because we're NGO, we are lobbying a lot of initiatives before the war. Now we're lobbying our victory by trying to put some efforts, some resources into the projects which are relevant to our activities, our sector. A lot of things done, but I would like to emphasize, for example, in the field of supporting army, yes, it's indirectly with Ministry of Digital Transformation, but again, we have some technical support, technical projects. We also have a lot of communications and with the customers, and our members directly work with the Ministry of Digital Transformation. It's not only association as well. So, and some educational projects. Still, we need additional people in the industry, and still as we are growing, we need additional people, and we pay big attention to the switchers, so people who can switch from other professions to IT, for example. Also, we attract a lot of international support from even funding through our partners. As well, we have DS City project, members of IT Ukraine, also members of this special taxation conditions for IT and tech companies, which allow them to develop much more faster and in these conditions as well. So have special preferences and special conditions for their business. So generally, we are putting some PR support, we are putting some financial support and to the projects through our members, and we are also open for new projects, and we are developing some other projects with them. Digital transformation, Minister of Digital Transformation, very focused on the cybersecurity as well, cybersecurity IT army of Ukraine. A lot of employees of our companies just joined this, let's say, community, and they work against some enemies and their projects as well. So it's in general, if speak in general. And by the way, I would also thank Minister of Digital Transformation for the Starlink equipment, which was agreed the supply of such equipment for all the spheres of economies, and so recipients were agreed by a lot of equipment was gained by as a reserve, like a reserve channel for IT companies and our members as well. And this is a good example how transparent and flexible and fast solutions can be delivered to business as well, because we are now fighting on the economic front, as I already mentioned.
Konstantyn, let's talk about cybersecurity for a second. Before the war, the Russian army was said to be one of the strongest in the world. Obviously, there is part of Russian propaganda to it, but in reality, we all saw that it is not as straightforward as it was said before. What is the situation like in cyber warfare? Are Russian forces strong there? And how are you combating with them?
Of course, there were a lot of myths about such powerful armies, both cyber army and just normal regular armies as well. So I would like to say, let's see on the results. Let's see, have we been injured by some cybersecurity attacks, or have we at least 1 or 2 cases of serious dramatic injuries, or some cases from these attacks from Russia's side? So I say no, and it's because of high level of cybersecurity and expertise in this sphere from Ukrainian side. So I would like to say that a lot of things again will be revealed after the war, but we are more or less safe with this, and of course we have counter strikes to Russia's cyber resources, and this is good examples we have now. But directly in this, we are not involved like association directly in this, but our community is involved, our people who has expertise in this area, and they have a close collaboration with the state authorities, related state authorities. So we have a good defense and we good attacking power as well. We should admit it.
What was the preparation like? Did you envision any of the scenarios? Did you practice out any of the cyber warfare scenarios in advance before the war? And in general, how does it work when when cyber war begins?
So now we have this cyber war not just started on 24th of February. It was 2014 when the Russian aggression, let's say smaller one, started, and it was an annexation of Crimea, etc., in some regions. So I mean that we were always dealing with this. We were always affecting this threat. So for these years, we have managed to build quite strong, let's say, quite basic structure of cyber defense. We had also some cases before, and several years ago, some attacks which were quite successful for the Russia, but we learned these lessons, and we prepared some special measures and prepared some plans how to avoid this in future. But now, of course, this war is also like in the background. It's never ending, but the periods of more active or less active periods, they are existing. Still, we should be ready for another tries, but we are ready for this. We should look at the results. We have no any critical cases like we lost this war. So, and again, another myth about powerful army, cyber army. So it's also, I think, crashed as well, this myth.
Konstantin, what are some potential collaboration points between the Ukrainian and the Georgian IT sectors, including not only associations, but the companies and maybe even governmental agencies too? We know we have some several cases of, for example, companies that are present both in Georgia and Russia. I'm sorry, in Georgia and Ukraine. And could this be one of the potential growth points?
So I think maybe even for Georgian companies and for us all, it's a good point to collaborate on let's say on sharing our experience during the war. It's in regards of cyber defense, some special products for army, program and software products for army, some unmanned tech, military tech. This is quite important because we have the exact and live experience from the real situation and from the cases we have faced during this war. So this is maybe interesting. Regarding business, business is quite global. Remote work or some business processes, they are the same, but the experience of taking on and developing business in very hard conditions and in conditions when you should react immediately. You should have business continuity plans ready to be implemented at once, etc., etc. This, I think, will be valuable experience for Georgian companies, and not only Georgian, of course, the companies over the globe. We are living in a quite unstable world, and you see, we should be ready for surprises. And maybe this is the main directions. We are open like a platform. We can provide some experience exchange. We can provide some contacts with the companies, etc. And from the business point of view, the customers, we have the same customers, we have the same problems like in the markets. So maybe the main thing is expertise and our experience to be shared between our companies.
Well, we certainly look for collaborations between Ukrainian and Georgian IT sectors in the future. And thank you very much, Konstantin, for taking our questions. We here at BMG and Forbes Georgia wish you and Ukraine to win, and good luck with everything. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for supporting Ukraine and stand with Ukraine. So now we are living in hard times, but just by uniting together, by uniting our efforts to overcome enemy and these circumstances, we will win. So thank you for support, and thank you for joining us here as well.
Thank you very much.
Slava Ukraini!
Slava Ukraini! Героям слава!
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.